What is up, friends? Welcome to From the Mind of Dick. I hope everyone's doing well out there wherever you may be. Today, another very special guest. This is not useless information. This is just a regular episode with my very good friend, Danny B. What's up, bro?
What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
Doing good,
Happy
man.
2025, man. It's been a while.
It has been. Yeah, we haven't done an episode in a while, but, you know, you hit me up yesterday, said, let's do something. I said, hell yeah, dude. Let's fucking just do a regular episode and just talk, bro. Just talk about shit.
I'll be honest with you. I was jealous over the Lyle podcast. I'm like, no, I want to talk. I want to talk to Richard too. Damn
Well,
it.
I wanted to get you on that podcast too, because I thought that would be a good conversation, but I think you were at work. So
Yeah.
it was kind of last minute for me. I was like, I've been wanting to get Lyle on my podcast for a while, and I hit him up. He's like, yeah, I'm available. I was like, okay. And he was like, well, I got to get my shit out of storage or something like that because it's about to burn down. So his shit was in
Yeah.
Hollywood or something like that. So he's like, but let me do it on. Okay. So anyway, yeah, it actually came out really good.
No, after listening to that, I didn't want to be a part of that because just hearing him, dude.
Yeah.
I was telling my wife about this. I'm like, dude, if I think I'm a humbled individual, that dude is like the most down to earth cat that I grew up with, and knowing the stuff that he grew up with, like I can't believe how much of a down to earth dude he is, and being in the music industry the way he is.
It's crazy, dude. He's very humble. He was like, I don't want to talk about all the stuff I've done. Let's talk about how great you are. I'm like, no, man. Like, I want to talk about all the accomplishments and all the bands you've played for and all the people that you've met. That's what I want to talk about. He just kept changing it and saying, I want to talk about you, man, how great you are and what a good dad you are, what a good friend you are, and how I wouldn't be here without you. I'm like, no, bro, this is about you. You're on my podcast. I want to hear about you. But yeah, he's so humble, dude. It's crazy. It's like, dude, you know that you're like really good friends with like legends. It's nuts. And people that we look at as legends, and he's like great friends with these people. So anyway, I love that guy. I mean, he's definitely a little brother.
No, it's crazy. It seems like you kind of get desensitized by being in that industry because you're just around it so much.
It's true.
And I remember we had played so many shows at I'm sorry, the band I was in, we played the Whiskey so many times that Pat Smear actually opened up for us with his group, like an all-female group, and he was the lead guitar player. And we just saw him and it was like, oh my God, that's Pat Smear. No big deal.
Yeah.
It's super weird. Like we hung out with Zakk Wylde and all these other people, and it just didn't seem as like crazy as it should have been. Like me talking about it now, I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally did not take advantage of that situation. But like him, it's just his whole world. And these people are like family. And all these people that I hung out with it was just moments. These are like moments. These are memories he's embedding for the rest of his life. The bass player from Sublime, Uncle Eric. That's
Uncle
just
Eric. Yeah.
freaking believable to even think that.
His
Like
kids call him Uncle Eric, dude. I'm like,
I was getting high with that dude's dad with him, like eating tacos, listening to that music. You know, it's like crazy. So it was just really inspiring. I really wanted to hear like kind of all the different stories too. So anybody out there that does listen to this growing up in Lake LA, that was probably a pretty awesome podcast to hear. So I don't have great memories like that with Lake LA. I was kind of like a sheltered individual. I only got to, I really never got to go out. So I kind of like just played my guitar and taught myself how to do that back in the day where you had no internet. And I remember there was a bass player, his name was Adam Dunn, and he played bass, and he told me, he's like, dude, tablatures. He's like, it will save your life.
Yep.
And he gave me what was it? Rage Against the Machine, Evil Empire tablature book. And I brought that home and I'm like, holy shit, this changed my entire life.
Yeah.
And then when I purchased Nevermind's Nevermind, I was so pissed off at myself. I'm like, really, this is what it is. This is how like power chords.
I think I had that same book. I think I think I taught myself most of guitar because, like I said, I got lessons from JoJo, but I ended up quitting the lessons. I was like, okay, I want to learn. I want to teach myself. You taught me the basics. I'm done. And I think I had that same book, looking through the tablature of Nevermind, and taught myself how to play all those songs. And we used to go to, my mom used to take trips to Walmart, and they used to have magazines. They have guitar magazine, and I'd go in there and flip through and say, "Oh, what songs are in here?" While she's shopping, I'm flipping through, memorizing the tablature, and sometimes writing it on my hand, and like writing it all in my arms, a tablature for songs that I like, and that's how I learned a bunch of songs. That's basically how I learned how to play guitar, just guitar tablature. Like I can't read music. I can't read music at all. I look at those, I look at notes, I'm like, I don't know what any of that means, but tablature I can look at, I'd be like, oh, I can play this real quick. So yeah, hell yeah, tablature is the way we all, I think, learned.
With you, it's funny because when like how you're glancing through that magazine, you go by each section, and you're like, okay, if I just remember these specific like
Yep.
chords or whatever, I can kind of listen to the song and then place it all together. So you don't
Yep.
need the entire tablature. You just kind of have to know the basics.
Yep.
But it's weird. Like I don't know how to read music, and you kind of find out later that tablatures is just more of like a beginner introduction to like learning just like the basic songs that are out there right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But like if you actually read sheet music, it's totally different compared to tablature.
Definitely.
And like when you watch, I remember going into Guitar Center and I saw Stairway to Heaven. I'm like, I'm not gonna know how to fuck. There's no fucking way. Or if you play Under the Bridge by Red Hot Chili Peppers,
Mhm.
I remember Eduardo playing that song so effortlessly, and I'm like, you're a piece of shit. And
Yeah.
he's like, first off, I know music theory, so I know where everything's going. I'm like, oh, it's not just power chords up and down. He's like, absolutely not. So
I used to be jealous of those guys that were like, oh, I know music theory and I can read up music. It's like I just play what sounds cool. But it sounds good to me. So hey, I don't know what key I'm in. Couldn't tell you. I don't know what chords I'm playing. I think I know like 5 chords and then power chords. That's
yeah,
how I play
that's
guitar.
just
That's
the
punk
basics for
rock,
me
baby.
too.
That's punk
Yeah,
rock. I
that's
don't know how to do anything else.
yeah. And then it helps.
Yeah,
People education does help, though. I
it
just
does.
want to say it does help.
I always thought about like I want to go get like knowing how to play guitar already. Like I want to go pretend I don't go take guitar lessons from somebody and be like, I don't even know what a guitar is. Show me what this is, and and I don't know. I think that they'd find me out pretty quick, but I just like learn the basics from the beginning to be a better guitar player now because it's like I can play this thing really well with distortion, but when I play this thing, it sounds like shit.
Yeah.
So I can only play certain chords. So if you're only listening to this, I'm pointing to my guitars, but
Yeah, he first pointed to the electric guitar and then
yeah,
pointed to the acoustic.
yeah,
And that's why you don't hear like that's why you don't hear like an MTV Unplugged anymore, because
yeah,
most bands can't do it because the music's not good.
yeah,
That's why you don't hear Green Day ever play acoustic. They've
yeah,
had one good acoustic song and stuff.
yeah,
Actually, they had one on Nimrod that was pretty good. It was mostly acoustic, but um, acoustic is a really hard instrument to make sound pretty. And I know,
yeah,
like you got to listen to like a John Mayer on acoustic, and then you'll never ever think of any like modern pop artist that can ever do that. It's just
yeah,
like acoustic is its own demon in itself. That's why I don't play it. I just
yeah,
don't play it.
right.
I rather I rather be an asshole and buy the guitar pedal that changes it to acoustic.
Yeah,
just play on the electric the
yeah,
entire time. Just
yeah.
cheat the entire way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I bought this guitar, the acoustic guitar that I have, because it was designed by Tim Armstrong from Rancid. So it's like my dream guitar, and I always wanted just one acoustic guitar. And I do mess around with it a lot, but I just realized when I start playing acoustic that I'm not a good guitar player at all. But I know how to write songs, and I understand, how things should sound. And playing electric when I'm playing stuff with distortion, it just makes things, like when I do it that way, it's like, okay, I sound like I'm really good, but really I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I really don't know how to play guitar. It's easy to play a power chord, and I know it sounds good.
There's a group called Loath, and they're like a very heavy metal, like prog type
Mhm.
band. And it's like it's one of their albums called just so if anybody wants to listen to this, I let in and it took everything is one of the best albums I've ever listened to. But they have a song called Is It Really You? And it's super slow, but then it goes so hard, dude. And at the very end, they just ended with an acoustic ending. And
I
I'm
love
like,
that.
I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it.
Yeah.
But it's just, you got to know acoustic can be put anywhere. You just got to know how to utilize it. You know,
Yeah.
you can play power chords anywhere and stuff as long as you fade it into like anything over it, whatever, if you're trying to be that diverse. But you know, if you're trying to be a solo artist and you're just playing power chords like Green Day,
Yeah.
okay, you're trying to play on stage like a beatnik, it's not working,
Yeah.
bud. It's
Yeah.
not gonna
It's not.
happen.
It's not. I've been
But
faking it for 30 years, so just so you know.
I just
But,
honestly, I just purchased a capo.
yeah.
I got new strings, and I'm like, you know what? This year I'm gonna work
Capo
on
right
that
here.
one and done. Yeah, there you go. I've never worked with them, so I'm like, you know
Yeah.
what? Let's see what happens. Let's see what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. So
And
talk to me about the like the writer's block that you're having. Like you're mentioning something about that.
yeah, so I mean,
'Cause you mentioned the one
just
and
with
done.
music, I wanted to start doing that. I got new strings and I'm
Hmm.
trying to force myself into writing music. Just hearing you and Lyle's conversation, I'm like, man, I want to write something. I want to leave something behind that even the great Dick can fucking be proud of. so, so I started doing that, but you know, things have been so like heavy over here, you know, before
Hmm.
Christmas time,
Hmm.
you know, that I couldn't do a podcast on my own behalf. Like I just couldn't
Hmm.
do it. Like I couldn't mentally get through it because I couldn't be vulnerable by myself, to be quite
Gotcha.
honest with you.
Gotcha.
And you know, and to anybody out there, it's probably gonna get really sappy, whatever, but I trust this man with his opinion and just him being the shoulder that he's always been on for so many years. And you know, he's a great individual. So, you know, I've been going through a lot with my family, and my daughter's been, you know, she comes from a divorced, you know, family and stuff, and I see her every once in a while. You know, I see her quarterly, you know, with
Hmm.
her schedule and stuff. So it's really hard for me because if you are a decent human being and a parent, you know, you care for your kids.
Yeah.
So being separated from them is like one of the hardest things that parents can go through. So, you know, my daughter was coming up for Christmas. Her birthday's like shortly, probably like 10 days after that. And then, you know, so I had New Year's, I had Christmas, I had her birthday. You know, we did everything for her possibly could. And she kind of like adverted back to some poor decisions that cost her decisions cost a lot of people and hurt a lot of people at the same time. And in the meantime, you know, while we are discussing these decisions and honestly like fighting back and forth, arguing, a lot of things were brought up and said on her behalf that, you know, my daughter's 17 turning 18 in next January. So she's already conquering the world. She knows everything that needs to be known about everything. So I told her, but pretty much she doesn't conversate. She talks to her. So,
Hmm.
um, and I pretty much told him like, hey, dude, you messed up here. This conversation, like I started the conversation. I'm like, I'm going to say some things that you probably aren't going to agree with, but due to your decisions, you're going to have to sit here and listen to them. And it just escalated to a lot of defensive acts upon her and a lot of hurtful things she said to me. And it pretty much just broke me to the point where I told my wife afterwards, after she had left and everything, um, I'm like, I don't want to do anything for anybody. Like, I just kind of want to quit everything. You know, I don't like, what's the point? What's the point of me trying to be the person I am, which if people don't know anything about me, I'm a pretty upbeat, happy go lucky individual. Um, I just want people to be happy. I've always thought I was a court gesture in my past life.
Hmm.
You know, we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
So why go through all of this? Why go through all this for all these hurt feelings where I'm just shattered? And it just put me to a point where like I'm just not motivated to do like anything, because I feel like there's no light at the end of my tunnel, I feel.
Hmm.
So, and I had hit up Dick yesterday, like early in the morning. And like we're on different time frames. I must have hit him up like at 3 or 4 o'clock in the
It
morning,
was
my
like,
time.
yeah, yeah, it was like
So
five my time. So
yeah. So, and he like answered right away. He's like, yeah, let's talk.
yeah,
But he had a sinus infection,
yeah,
yesterday. So that's why we're talking today. But
yeah. That's why I sound like
it's
I smoked a bunch of cigarettes because.
and
But
I sound the way that I do because I'm really trying to hold it in and not trying to be super emotional. But when you love something like so much, where like I told my daughter, we've been going through like battles back and forth, and I'm not going to bring up my reasoning why we we disagree on things that we probably shouldn't. Um, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just kind of like puzzled about things, and just like I was saying, I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. I
it's
told her
okay.
a long time ago. I'm like, you know what? I do everything and I live for you. I'm like, you're everything to me. If I don't have you, like, what am I doing? It's just like now that I have to focus on me. I'm like, that's just like, if you like cut me off, like, how do I feel about that? And in my past, I have another child that I haven't seen in almost 15 years due to a lot of horrific things that I went through in the past. So like I have a whole what is it? Fuck. Like the home what's that one channel? The Lifetime channel. I have a whole Lifetime movie of stuff that you probably shouldn't go through. Probably shouldn't have to ever go through, like with marriage, kids, family, everything. So after everything that I've been through, almost 15 years worth of it, 20 years, you know, and after what happened recently, it's just like, wow.
Yeah. Um, all we can do as parents is teach them right and wrong. We can't hold their hand, especially when they turn 16, 17, and turning 18. Like we can't hold their hand. All we can do is love them, show them how much we love them, and teach them right from wrong. If they're going to make these decisions, sometimes you got to let them. My oldest daughter made some decisions when she was around that age, around 18, and she made some decisions I didn't like. And she basically didn't want anything to do with me because I was drinking. And we got into it a lot. We got into a couple arguments, a couple times where I was like, well, now she doesn't want anything to do with me. But I let her go. I said, you're making some bad decisions. You got to learn to make them. I've taught you everything I can. I love you. You're everything to me. I've taught you everything I could possibly do, but now you're becoming an adult. You're old enough to make these decisions. You got to let them fail sometimes. It's hard to do because one thing you got to remember is they'll always come back. As long as they know that you love them, even if it seems like they're not going to talk to you for a little while, they know that you love them. They'll always come back. Recently, my son, who's 23, I didn't talk to him for 3 years. And he was making decisions and stuff that I wasn't happy with. And then I did some things that he wasn't happy with. And we got into it a little bit. And then he just didn't want to talk to me. And I tried reaching out, told him I loved him, reached out here and there, just, hey, man, I'd like to talk to you. And he stopped reaching out. And I literally didn't hear from him for like almost 2 years, even though I tried. This last Christmas, guess what? I was really saying that I want to talk to my son. Like I haven't seen him in so long. So I was gonna make an effort. If I had to drive to fucking San Diego to go see him, I was gonna find him because I need to reconnect with my son. He showed up on Christmas. And
just unexpectedly.
My youngest daughter set it up. I guess he was in town. He was wondering what they were doing, and she was like, "Hey, Dad's here. he's coming over. So he was like, cool, I'm gonna come see him. And they surprised me. He just showed up for Christmas on Christmas Day. And we didn't really have a chance to talk much about it, but he told me, we hugged and it was like the longest hug ever. And I was like, hey, my son's back. So all I could do is teach him, but he saw a lot of bullshit too. He saw a lot of bullshit that I was doing, and he didn't like it. He witnessed me in handcuffs because my ex-girlfriend called the cops on me for nothing. I didn't do anything. She fell and she blamed me for it. And he walks up and I'm in handcuffs. The cops realized that it was one of those things that wasn't, anything. Anyway, I won't get into that story, but he walks up and he's like, "You good, Dad?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." And the cops let me go. I didn't do anything wrong. But he walked up and he witnessed me belligerent, blackout drunk, all these things. And he saw a bunch of shit he shouldn't have seen. And so when I did get sober, I wanted to talk to him and say, hey, look, I'm a different person. I want to change. He didn't want anything to do with me for a while. He was mad at me. And then he was, I want to say he was just turning 20. Then he stopped talking to me. And he had to go his own path, do his own thing, learn his own lessons. And then he came back. And now he's back. And everything's good. And everybody's good because they learn their own lessons, So sometimes that's what you have to do. Sometimes you have to let them fly and let them learn, but just that they have to know that because you've taught her whole life, right from wrong, and how much you love her. And she knows, but think about you when you were 17. I'm thinking about myself when I was 17. I was a dick. I was a dick to my mom. So, that's all I can say,
Did you ever think that what scared, I mean, and it scares me to think that maybe she never will come back and it will just be, it's just, when things happen with my son, that was just one of those things that, and I told her, I was like, it's just like, there's a lot of things I regret in my life. And, I'm like, your brother's one of them and I don't want to fail with you.
Yeah.
I'm like, so when you come up here and you do these things after like months of not seeing us, and I'm talking about my wife and I was like, it upsets us, and it just like really just kind of confuses us why you would treat us like all we're doing is trying to support you. And I know there's something more to it that's not being told, and I understand because ultimately she's not like me. She's more like her mother and keeps everything bottled up until it is time to
Yeah.
to talk about it. So, we are so similar, but yet so different in many things. And, I got along with my parents, to a point until I got along with my parents until I had kids. And then all the truth came about with all like the drama in the past and shit, and then once you have kids, like you really find out if you have like good grandparents for your kids or not. So,
Yeah.
and, I found out real quick, and, it was just, man, it was just tough, dude. Like the whole thing was just from beginning to end, like a struggle to just prove that I just want to provide and be a good dad,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like my entire life I've been trying just to prove to fit in somewhere, and, every group diet that I started, I was always like the shadow, and everything, I feel like everything, with, my kid, work, even though like even though I love my job, it just seems like, I don't know, dude. I'm just stuck. I think maybe I'm just putting myself in this down situation. But when your kid pretty much just kind of like writes you off and shit, it's like, how the hell can you feel positive about anything right now?
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard in life because I mean, I've heard this a lot. Like it's hard in life to feel like we're enough, like we're doing enough, or like basically we're enough at all. Like, do we have enough money? Are we doing enough for, the person we're with? Are we doing enough for our kids? Um, as men in our generation too, it's like we were taught to suck it up and don't be a pussy. Just fucking go work, go, and it's okay to like have those feelings of not feeling like you're enough because we were taught to just like provide and just you just go out there and you bust your ass and you take care of business. You take care. That's what I was taught. I'm sure sure that your
Same
dad was a
generation.
macho
Yeah.
fucking dude that said, "Joe, don't be a pussy. Stop crying. Get out there and fucking work." And that's how I was. That's how I was raised. And so when we have these feelings of like we're not doing enough, it's hard to like we have to bottle up those emotions, and then when something big happens, like with your kid, all that shit just comes out. But we have to realize is that we are enough. We work our asses off. We take care of business, and we do everything we can. Even though, like, because I'm in the same situation as you, I don't see my kids, but I talk to them as much as I can. But I don't live. I live in Utah. They live in LA, and I make sure that any little thing that goes on, I'm there for them, and I talk to them. And sometimes, we disagree, and they don't want to talk to me, and that hurts because I'm not there. So all we can do is just provide and make sure they're taken care of. And if they need anything, they got to know that they can reach out. And we are enough is all we can say. We are doing enough. Especially teenagers, like they think they know everything. They think they know everything because I'm about to be an adult, so I know everything about everything, and you can't tell me anything. And reality comes real fast. And whether she wants to reach out to you or not right now, you got to let her know, hey, I'm here if you need me. I know we disagreed, but hey, I love you and I'm here if you need me, and I don't want to be distant. And that's what I do with my kids. Like anything you need, I'm always here for you. Me and my 15-year-old daughter disagreed on some stuff just recently. Stuff with the election, right? And I feel a certain way about politics. She's 15 and knows everything, right? And that's okay. I want her to have her own opinion. And she got upset with something that I posted because she doesn't agree with who I decided to vote for, right? And that's okay. Because in this country, guess what? We can disagree. So we had a little text back and forth on Instagram because of what I posted. And she was really upset and she was crying about it. And I feel like I think she told her mom like that she didn't want to talk to me because of who I voted for. And that killed me. Like I was literally at work crying because I was like, no, this is my kid. Like I'm not going to let anything like this take my kids away from me, right? So I reached out to her and I said, hey, I understand you don't agree with me. I'm still your dad. I love you no matter what. And we're allowed to disagree on these things. We don't ever have to talk about it, but I'm here if you want to. And she ended up, then I called her and I gave her a couple of days and then I called her and she was like, no, it's fine. I don't agree with you, but it's fine. But you're always my dad no matter what. And then we talked for a minute and then I guess she went and she cried to her mom, like happy cry. She's like, my dad called me, and we're good. We're okay. And like when her mom told me that, I started crying again. I was like, that's all I wanted. Like she understood like, hey, we disagreed and we were fighting about it. But at the end of the day, I'm the one that's going to be here for you always. I'm your dad. And I can feel myself kind of tearing up on that too, because it's like that was like whenever I think about losing my kids, like if anything, like if I don't want anything to do with me, like with my son, I cried for a lot for that because, it's my son. That's my boy. It's my only boy. And I just, he didn't want anything to do with me.
Well,
So
that's interesting because it seems like your daughter was it seemed like that she assumed that you were mad at her and that's why you guys
yeah,
weren't talking for days. And then,
yeah.
she was excited to talk to you. And then how many years was it before you ended up seeing your son this past Christmas?
It was 3 years. It was 20, yeah, 2021, Christmas of 2021. I saw him and then I didn't see him until this last one. So, and I talked to him a couple times on text and then I think I went 2 years without hearing from him at all.
Yeah, you're You have an open heart, man. I probably would have broken down within the first year. I've been like, she's never coming
Oh,
back.
believe me, I did. I was like, yeah, he hates me. And then he was talking to his sisters and stuff, so it kind of, and my oldest was like, she was like, I can't tell you what's going on, but he has to tell you. And I was like, I can't apologize for something that I don't know what I did, but I I really, I really do want to talk to him. And then the last thing I sent him was, look, if you want to talk, I'm always here. I'll leave you alone because it seems like you don't want to interact with me. I can't apologize for anything that I don't know what I did, so just tell me what I did and we can talk about it. But I'm open for discussion. You have my number, call me. And he never did. But when he showed up, all he told me was like life happens and he missed his family. And he just said that he was going through some stuff, and I asked him if he wanted to talk about it. We could talk, we can go outside and talk. And he's like, no, I don't want to talk about it. And I was like, that's fine. Whenever you want to talk to me about it, we can talk. And I was like, I was just blown away that like my son was right here. And there's a couple of things that like we got in the car and he was driving, and I realized something. I was like,
That he drives like shit.
that, yeah.
Okay.
I was like his dad. I was like, shit. But no, the thing was, I had never been in a car with him while he was driving. Because,
Oh wow.
yeah, it's because he learned how to drive, and he was, I think he was like 17 when he learned how to drive and stuff. But he got his license all by himself, did everything all by himself. And I was in Utah, and then when I moved back, he was kind of doing it on his own. He didn't really see me much, and then he got everything by himself, and I realized that I'd never been in a car with him. And that kind of hit me. I was like, damn, this is my kid, and I didn't get a chance to teach him how to drive. And so there's a lot of things that I missed because I was doing stupid shit, right? And I told him, I said, I'm really sorry for that, I'm sorry about all the shit that I did and the shit you had to see. And I said, that's what keeps me sober, is that, like, you guys saw a bunch of shit that, I said, you and your sister saw a bunch of shit that you shouldn't have seen. And I'm just glad you're back. And he's like, yeah, I'm glad to be back. And I could tell that he was really happy to see his family, and he missed us all. And I missed him a lot. And now, we're still back in touch. We're texting back and forth now. It's like my son's back in my life. And it's like, I had to have that faith that I had to let him go for a little bit, because if he wanted to come back, he was going to come back. And at the end of the day, he knew I was his dad, and he knew that I loved him. And that's all I wanted him to know. I can't force him to come talk to me. I can't go strangle him and say, look, motherfucker, like, come hang out with your dad. Tell me what I did, bitch. I can't do anything like that. Like,
Yeah, I was just about to ask you that. So you had hope and faith. Was it on a 50-50, knowing that A, or like, A, I did something wrong, and B, I didn't do something wrong?
there was some things that I know that he was upset about the fact that I moved to Utah the first time. And then his sister turned 18 and she came with me. And he was there by himself with his stepdad, who was kind of a dick and treated him like shit. And he felt really bad about that. But then when I came back, we were hanging out all the time, and he was coming over where I was staying, and we hung out a lot. And then there was just some other things that went down, and we were trying to take a trip to Florida, and we got everybody involved. And I asked him, well, we're going to fly you from San Diego to Florida, 'cause that's where he was staying. And I said, hey, try to come up with like $100, maybe $200 if you can. I know you're working. He's like, well, I just can't do that. I said, then we're going to figure it out. And then between, a few people, we were going to get him another ticket. And then right before we were going to Florida was Father's Day, and I didn't hear anything from him. And for me, that's the biggest day of, like, at all, is Father's Day. I got 4 kids, and that's the biggest day for me. I don't give a shit about Christmas. I don't give a shit about all these other ones. Father's Day is my holiday. And he didn't hit me up. So I was like, you know what? Fuck him. He's not going. And I shouldn't have had that. I shouldn't have had that reaction. I should have let him come and then talk to him about it so that was my mistake. And that's the only thing, because I know that he was upset that we all went to Florida and he wasn't involved. but we were trying to get him involved. I mean, we spent almost $2,000 to get everybody there. So all three of my daughters went, and myself to go visit my mom. And he was upset about that. And shortly after that, he kind of just stopped talking to me. And that's the only thing I can think. But he hasn't told me that. So it was kind of some. And then, like I said, there's a lot of stuff that he saw that he shouldn't have seen. And then when I moved to Utah the first time, he was just like, he was really upset with me that he couldn't come with me. And I was like, well, your mom has custody. I can't just bring you. The only reason your sister was able to come is because she turned 18 and finished high school. And I said, the plan is when you finish high school, you're going to come with me. And that's it. You're done. And he's like, but that's like 2.5 years away. I can't do that. And I was like, then talk to your mom, because if you want to be with me, you should be with me. But she wouldn't give it up. She wouldn't let him come. And he was just upset about that. And then I know that his mom was talking a lot of stuff about me that wasn't true. And so all these things, and then he had this really shitty stepdad, and all these things just bombarded him. And I think he just needed time away, from everything. I think he was just feeling like he wasn't good enough. Like he couldn't be involved in all these things, and like, why does he always get left out? And I understand that. But he's back, and I basically, I told him, I said, I know you don't even want to talk to me about what's going on, but I'm sorry for everything that put you through, and I'm going to make up for it. It's all I can do is tell you I'm sorry. And, I fucked up a lot, and I'm a lot clearer head now, and, I'm doing way better, and I'm glad you're back. And he was like, yeah, we'll talk eventually. So, I mean, I'm just happy he's back. I can't force him to do anything else.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, man. It's 23, 24, so I got 7 more years of this just even to get to this.
Yeah. But like, all you can do, like I said,
she can't even rent she can't even drink. She can't even fucking vote. She can't even rent a U-Haul truck.
Yeah. But she's going through a rebellious phase, and she's going through my parents don't know shit phase, and you're not there all the time, so she can talk shit, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I went through as well. It was like, well, you live in Utah, you can't do anything about it. And then started realizing that, the kids start realizing that, yeah, I can. I can, and but even though I'm far away, I'm always here for you. It's simple as that. It's one thing they always have to know. If we're far away, but we're right there. We're still there for you. And anytime you need to talk, anytime you're going through shit, like, we're always there. And my younger daughters call me all the time about stuff, and especially my youngest, she's always calling me about, talking to me about her day and that kind of stuff. And she needs to know that anytime she calls, I'm going to answer that damn phone. And that's all we can do. That's all we can do is just be there. And it sounds like you've done that.
It's weird. Like, you were talking about how your kids, like, you ended up talking to your kids later, or your daughter. And after the blowout and stuff, and I pretty much told my daughter, I'm like, go in your room. Like, I don't want to talk to you or see you for the rest of the night. Like, I just can't. Mm-hmm. And it was, I never react like that towards my daughter. Like, she has me wrapped around her finger. Like, anytime I see her cry or break down, like, it just shatters me. I'm like, I just say to myself, you're a piece of shit, Dad. And so I was so upset. It went through the next day, and she ended up hitting me up like almost in the evening time the following day. And she's like, I can't do this. Like, you not talking to me, like, really, like, really hurts me. And like, I don't want to do this. And I'm like, I don't want to do this either. But what you did, like, just shattered me. Like, so what do you want me to do? And she's like, well, can we talk now? I'm like, we can definitely talk, but I've said all I needed to say. Like, kids nowadays, and she's more, I mean, no, I was the same way. Like, when I was scolded by my family, I just shut down. Like, what are you going to say to your parent? Like, what if if I've never shown the way that I reacted towards my daughter, like, pretty much ever, what is she going to possibly come at? Like, what is she going to talk to me about? Like, what is my dad going to fucking possibly listen to that's going to make him think, oh yeah, maybe I need to tone it back a little, So I'm just, I don't want to keep you or your audience, much, but like, is life just a bunch of unanswered questions?
Kinda. Yeah. It really is. Like we don't have a handbook for any of this. We don't have a handbook for parenting or for life. Like, I mean, I love my parents to death. They were good parents, but they didn't teach me shit about my like how to be an adult and how to live. I had to teach myself that shit, and as far as being a parent, those are our only examples is our parents. And I don't know. I learned a lot. I learned a lot with my older kids on what not to do. And then by the time the younger girls came around, I was like, okay, this is how things are going to be. Because I was 20 years old when, my daughter was born. I didn't know what I was doing. So it was like, we only have this one example. And I tried to not do some things that my parents did because I felt like they could have done a better job. They provided, there's always a roof over our head. We always had the latest toys, but that's, there's more to parenting than just that. And so I've always tried to give my kids life lessons and teach them things. And this is important. You need to do this and not be the dictator parent, but be the one and not just be their friend, but teach them how to be, how to be a good person. And my older kids they say this all the time. They've said this to me before in the past. And, my daughter always says it like, she's like, I want to work hard because I always saw you were always working. You were always trying to do your best to take care of us. So I want to do that because that's the example you led for us. And, she works hard. And the younger ones, they see that that everything I do is for them. Like all the work I do, I work hard. All the money that I make goes to them. And I tell them, sometimes I'll tell them, hey, I don't have money for this, but you know what? You guys are good, so don't worry about it. I'll be fine. And that's all I want them to know is that like everything I do is for them. So they know that they're 100% loved. And if anything happens where we disagree and we fight about something, they just got to know that I'm always there for them. No matter what we disagree, no matter what happens, I'm always there. And they know that. They all know that, And that's all you can do when it comes to a situation like you're in. You just got to, hey, everything's calm. What can I do, to let her know what can we do about the situation? What can we learn from this situation? Something like that. Because every bad thing that happens, you got to learn from it. That's why we have pain, because we learn, hey, don't fucking touch that. It hurts, So we learn from our mistakes. And dude, I've made billions of mistakes in my life, and I've learned from every single one. And the problem is, if you're making that same mistake over and over again, that's where you're a dumbass. You got to learn from your mistakes. And kids, especially teenagers, especially a 17-year-old, has to learn from those mistakes. Because if they are just sheltered and just like, oh, it's okay, you can do whatever you want, you got to fucking learn that, hey, don't fucking do that, or this will happen. This is why I'm pissed off at you, because this is what you did, and this is the consequences that are going to happen if you continue down this path. Because if you don't let them fuck up, they're not going to learn that, hey, pain fucking hurts. You got to let them fuck up. That's why you have all these fucking kids that are now fucking in their 20s that can't hold down a job because it gets a little hard. They quit because they go right back to mommy and daddy and say, oh, hey, that job didn't work out. Can you still give me money? And because they weren't taught that, hey, pain hurts, they weren't taught to fuck up. So that's the main thing, is you got to let them fuck up sometimes, because then they'll learn. But you got to teach them the consequences.
I totally agree with you, bud. I totally agree, man. And it just seems that I needed this therapy, dude. It seems like it's okay to try and not always be successful. And that's the thing. I've always tried to put myself on a higher, just on, beyond my means at sometimes too.
Yeah.
Just so I don't, disappoint her.
Yeah.
And when you're just trying to be a supportive person and you're like, I'm titled the fun dad. And it's like, well, I see you fucking once a quarter. Like, what the fuck am I going to do? Punish you when you come down here? I'm like, then you'll have the complete option of not coming down here. So I'm kind of like, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's hard when you don't see them as much. You want to be like, Like I always called it like the Disneyland dad. You know, you don't you still want to like
Hey, all you super moms out there, these hurt our feelings. I just want you to
yeah.
know, like they do make us cry in the car when we drive home from work and
Yeah,
shit.
no, that's what the big kid's mom used to call me because when the kids were with her, she didn't do anything with them. And so when my oldest daughter was 14, we went through like a 2-year, 3-year court battle, and she won 100% custody. And I only saw them every other weekend from Friday when they got out of school till Sunday at like 7:30. That's when they had to be home. And at the time, I in Santa Clarita, and they lived in like Little Rock. And so it was only like a 35-minute drive. It wasn't bad. But
Yeah.
so I would drive out there after work and pick them up from school and then bring them, they were right around, they were going to Little Rock High School, right? My school that I went to.
Me too.
And yeah, so they would go to that, and my son he was in another school. But anyway, um, I would drive there, pick them up, and have them for the weekend, and then they'd be gone for 2 weeks. I wouldn't see them. And when they were with their mom, they wouldn't do anything. And they would always say, "Oh yeah, like her idea of fun is we're going to go to the mall." And like, okay, so when they would be with me every other weekend, it was like we always had plans. Like we're going to go do a bunch of crazy shit. We're going to go have fun. Like we would buy tickets to like, we went to Legoland one time. We went to all these things. We wanted to have fun. And their mom was calling me like Disneyland dad. Like you just always take them and do fun things every time you have them, and then they come home and they're like, "Oh, why don't we do fun things here?" And it's like, "Yeah, why don't you?" Like I only see them every other weekend, and so she made me feel bad for taking my kids and having fun with them every time they were with me. But I only see them every other weekend. Like I want to do fun things with them. I don't want to just sit around the house do nothing. So we would go do fun things, and but like when the little kids come visit now, we do fun things, but I always make sure they do their chores, like the same chores they have with their mom, that kind of thing, because I want to make sure that they stay on the same. Because I don't want them to think, oh, when we come with dad, we don't have to do anything.
Right.
I want to make sure that they know that, hey, we're going to still have fun when you're with me because I don't see you very much, but you still have to do dishes, you still have to keep things clean, that kind of stuff. So I don't want to be that Disneyland dad, but at the same time, you don't see them enough. So it's like you want to have fun because you don't get to see them enough. So it's kind of hard to keep that balance,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean,
I needed to hear from another dad,
yeah,
and one of my good friends that live up here, he has 2 young kids, and I'm like, I don't want to hit you with this shit, man. Like
yeah,
your kids are not even 5 years old.
yeah.
I'll
And
talk
we're
to
in
you
the
about this
same
in a couple
boat. I
years.
mean, we're in the same situation. We're like, we live far away from our kids. It's like, so I can kind of be on that same level where, I've been through all this stuff, I've been doing it for a while.
And just being real and not trying to just being real, when you hear like when people are going through stuff, it's like just reach out, and there's always someone to reach out.
Yeah.
And even though I knew you were going to answer the phone, it was the hardest message to send because I didn't want to be vulnerable. I didn't
It's
want
hard.
you to feel like, oh, he's going through something, or like, or like panic and shit. I don't know what the feel. I honestly, I don't know. I don't know what the feeling was,
Yeah.
and I have a big core of friends as well that I could have hit up and stuff, but certain people, it's like, like my best friend, I could hit up at any time with anything, but I would never hit him up about this for some reason. I don't know. I don't know why, because maybe he's not a father,
Mhm.
maybe like my 2 closest best guy friends aren't fathers, um, so like when I was, thinking about you, it was like, cause I was like, is he even going to want to have this conversation, And I was like, I'm going to hit this up as a podcast too, because maybe this is something that everybody needs to hear as well, because, men don't talk about this. Like you were saying
Mhm.
earlier, we were raised to not be pussies and
Mhm.
keep our feelings in, keep our feelings in, you know, vote, work, take care of
Yep.
family, rinse, repeat, do the same
Yep.
shit,
Don't be a little
So
bitch.
yeah,
I can hear my
exactly.
dad's voice.
Yeah. And, and I know my dad was, you know, I know he fucking broke down at times too, you know, but he never showed it.
Mhm.
And I didn't want to ever show my daughter that I was a pussy, but I was like, hey man, I have feelings too, you know,
Yeah.
and first of all, besides being a man, I'm a human being with
Yeah.
like, you know, human feelings.
Yeah.
So when I reached out, I was like, you know, if he does want to do this on the podcast, I think it's just be great just to know that if you are in this man's circle right here, this man that I'm pointing to right here, you're very lucky to have a shoulder to you know, to talk, you know. There's not a lot of people that can conversate and just be neutral and listen without interrupting and trying to, when they hear something they need to reply, you know,
Yeah.
immediately. It's really tough. So if you do have this man in your circle, please, you know, utilize him, because after this conversation I feel great, you know. And it's sometimes you need it, you
Yeah.
know, and it's sometimes it's the person you least expect, honestly. It really, you know, I wasn't expecting anything least from you, dude, out of everybody, but honestly, like, out of all my friends, I'm like, Dick's gonna be the one that's gonna understand and be there and just let me hear what I need to hear, even though I might not want to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah, and with my ADHD, it's really hard to not interrupt people. But I try to sit there and listen and take it all in because um, I've been through it, bro. Like honestly, like you name it, I've been through it, you know. And sometimes people like I've talked to about things, like they'll say this and that. I'll be like, yeah, dude, like this other day, like you know, back 5 years ago, I went through this, and oh yeah, I've been through that too. And I had a guy tell me like, do you just like make this shit up, like you always have something to say about something that someone's going through. Is like, no, bro, like I've lived a life and I've been through a lot of bullshit from childhood up until present day. Like I've gone through a lot of shit. So I feel like anyone that's going through shit, I'm your guy to talk to because, and anyone listening to this, like if you ever need to just call me and talk because I have people that are struggling with sobriety. I have a friend in the hospital right now. Guy I used to drink with, guy I used to party with. He's in the hospital from drinking. Um, I've had friends that have reached out about sobriety. I've had friends that have reached out like you that are just going through shit and just want to talk about it. I've gone through it and I have advice about it. And even if I just listen and say, yep, yep, but most likely I've gone through it. So I just try to be there, you know. It's good to like have that free therapy. You know, we have friends, we have people we care about, and it's good to have that free therapy, especially people that have gone through it. You know, it's really a good thing to have, and I don't mind at all. Like, and
It was easier to open up to you right now than it was when I tried to go to a therapy appointment last October. I went into the room. This guy came in with his apprentice. He's like, "Do you mind?" I'm like, "No, not at all." And for
yeah,
a complete hour, I questioned him. You know, he's like, "So what? You know, why are you here?" And I just went down to everything, like from my past.
yeah,
Within like 5 minutes, like 35 years worth of drama in like 5 minutes. And he's like, okay. And I go, yeah. So I just want to know why I feel this way. And he goes, all
time's
right.
up.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
that's an
exactly.
hour. We'll talk next time.
Yeah. And then he just goes, well, you know, like, started asking me all these basic questions. And then I go, you know, I know what you're trying to get to, and I'm not going to get like too personal when it comes down to like my family and all this stuff. And I just kind of like everything he asked, I combated everything.
Yeah,
So I think that was another reason why I had a hard time sending the message out to you, reaching out, because I didn't want to reach out and then completely be like, no, no, it's because of how I feel. No, she's wrong and all that stuff. Or how I, but that's what I was saying to you. Like, that's
yeah,
what I was hoping not to say that, which I didn't. I don't know why. I don't know what I felt. I was just so scared to reach out to
no,
anybody else besides, you know, my wife, who's, God bless her soul. As soon as I get off this podcast, I have to go over there and consult her because I'm going to be a fucking mess after this. But,
yeah, yeah,
you know, I'm thankful to have a supportive wife that she's not, you know, it's not my child, you know, she's not the mother of my child, but she loves my child very much and will do anything for her. And, you know, we're just in this house, just heartbroken, trying to figure out fucking answers. So I'm halfway through it. So hopefully I can bring some comfort to her later.
Yeah. Yeah, well, things will work out. Like I said, just make sure that your daughter knows that, you know, you love her and these are the consequences of your actions. This is what's going to happen. This is why. And I'm acting this way because I love you. Because my job is to teach you right from wrong. You know, that's why I'm here on this earth. And at the end of the day, like, our kids is why we live. You know, our kids are why we live. Our kids are the reason why we do everything we do. For me, it's like, I go to work every day when things are hard. I think about my kids. If I'm sick, like I went to work yesterday sick as fuck, but I'm like, if I don't work, my kids don't eat, right? At the end of the day, we do everything for them and they know that. Like she knows what you do for her. She knows. But like I said, the teenage mind does things that, you know, they don't make the best decisions sometimes. Even though they're taught, you did everything you could to teach them, they don't make the best decisions sometimes. But at the end of the day, they know right from wrong and they know that you love them and that you work your ass off to take care of them. And you have since day one when they were born, changing their fucking diapers and feeding them and going to work to afford those fucking diapers because they're fucking expensive. And like you mentioned about your wife, it's like that's what I have too, is someone that when I'm struggling, I have my free therapist. I need to talk to her when I'm going through shit. I tried therapy multiple times. I tried when I was trying to quit drinking, I tried to go to therapy to figure it out. And again, that's the same thing. It was like, I spent an hour talking to this lady and her dog. Literally her dog was there. And I told her my life story and she told me I had PTSD. So I had trauma. And I said, no fucking shit. I have trauma. I know. That's why I'm here. And she was like, well, time's up this round. We'll talk about it next time. And I came in and then she was pulling up the notes and she's like reading them back. And I'm like, okay, so fix me. What is wrong with me? And she's like, you have trauma. Do you want antidepressants? I said, no, I don't want anything. I want you to tell me what's wrong. So we talked a little bit more and I was like, man, fuck this. I was like, I'm not doing this. And I tried like online therapy, same thing. Tell me your life story. Tell me you have PTSD, you have trauma. No fucking shit. I know this. Fix me. So I said, you know what? Fuck that. I'm going to do it myself. And I go through a lot of shit. I don't put it publicly out there, but I go through struggles almost daily about like I feel like I'm not doing enough, or I feel like I'm not enough. And I try my best. I feel like I don't have enough money. I'm not doing enough. And at the end of the day, I have a partner that brings me back down to earth and says, look, you're working your ass off every day. You always show up. You always work hard. All your money, the reason you don't have money is because you're sending it all to your fucking kids. You work hard and you're giving all your money to your kids. You're giving more money than you're supposed to your kids. And anything they need, they get. And they live a good life. And not only that, you're present. And you're talking to them every single day. When they call you, you're there. If you have $5 at the end of the day and you got to eat tater tots and rice for dinner, just think about that. You have them, you know, and that's what keeps me going, is that I have those kids, you know, and at the end of the day, that's why I do everything I do. And like I said, I've been through it. Anybody needs to talk to me about it, let's talk. I'm free therapy. Don't go to a therapist. Well, I guess you can. I don't want to say don't do that because it works for some people. It just didn't work for me. Obviously, it didn't work for you. I will never spend money on that shit again because, you know, it didn't really work for me. You know?
Yeah, it's just
this works. This works. Yeah,
this
homie
works.
Shit, you know, talking to a good friend. This works more than just like going to some therapist and giving them money to tell your life story and for them to tell you you're fucked up. Yeah, I know that. I know I'm fucked up. You know?
Yeah, really it's crazy because that's how I thought. I'm like, I feel like this guy just doesn't want to. I don't think I'm sure most of these therapists get into it for the right reasons, but not to the depth that probably like what the clients are looking for, like right off the bat. You know, we want you guys to dive deep into our head. Like, I don't want to suppress it. Like, I want to know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like open Pandora's box, motherfucker. Let's rock and roll. Let's find out what's
Like I said, just fucking tell me what the fuck I need to do to get rid of these thoughts in my head. You know, I know why they are in my head. I know what people have done in my past. I know how people have treated me. I know that. Like, I know that's why I'm fucked up. I know that's why I drank for so long. I know this. But what do I do to fix it? And to give me drugs, like, no, that's not gonna happen. I don't want that. You know,
No, I don't want that either.
Yeah, I want someone to tell me how to manage my thoughts and how to manage my pain, you know, my internal pain, because I was taught, leave it in there, just suck it up, you know, and sometimes you can't do that, you know, and it's okay to not do that. We were taught that, yeah, by men who were taught that by their fathers, but we need to break that generational trauma and say, you know, it's okay to fucking cry. It's okay to have feelings. You're not a pussy. You're still a man if you have feelings and if you cry, especially when it comes to our kids. Especially when it comes to our kids, you know, we're allowed to fucking cry. It's okay.
What if there's some guy listening to this podcast in a different country and they're like, these guys are bitches.
Okay.
I love you, bud. I won't keep you any longer. My phone's dying, but
okay.
Thank you, dude. I truly appreciate you more than you know, man. And
course, man.
I thank you. I thank you for this. This meant a lot.
Yeah,
it really did.
Good, man. And just something I've been saying at the end of my show all the time, just always think of this: when things are going bad, when things are rough, just look in the mirror and say, you fucking got this. I do that every day. I look in the mirror and say, dude, you got this. That's it, dude. You got this.
I appreciate it, man. I'll definitely try it without fucking trying to break the mirror.
All right. So everyone out there, like I said, you got this. Peace.
Thank you, everybody.